Well, Theresa, you want to start?
Sure.
Theresa's our facilitator today, Theresa Keegan. So I'll let her tell you a little about herself and get us going.
Okay. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor to be with the Publishers Club from Laguna Woods. And I look forward to getting more involved with you. I've been in the community for about 2.5 years now. So I'm still also working and everything. So it's time is of pretty rare right now, as everyone knows. And I think once everyone says once you actually do retire, then everything gets really busy. So I'm trying to juggle all that right now. But I am a freelance writer, and I have a long history of working in journalism for print media. And I started right out of college just working for small weeklies, and then I ultimately became an opinion editor and then an opinion columnist up in the Bay Area for Bay Area News Group. And then I moved back to New York for a bit and spent about a decade or so there. My mom has ill, and we moved the family back there, so that was really a nice opportunity. And I was an editorial writer for Gannett there. And then I saw where journalism was going and decided to go freelance. So I've been a freelance writer now for about 13 years, and don't regret a moment of it, although it's hard to see, for me, what's happened to journalism as a whole in our society and what's going on with it. Commercially, it's no longer viable. But to me, I think the downfall on democracy is really where it is. And we do have national papers that cover things and stuff, but I find the real pain is occurring in our local communities and school boards that don't get covered and city councils that don't get covered and water districts. And these are the things that really impact us directly, and as does the national situation, and that's a whole different thing. But anyway, I also believe in the power of words and writing to document history. And one of the things that I started with was when we were all living through this COVID situation.
I rather show them my name.
Oh, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So anyway, when we all started with the COVID thing, I realized my grandmother had lived through the Spanish flu. And I had never known that until I looked at the dates, and I was like, oh my gosh, she was working in New York City at the time. And I so wish I had had something of hers that she had written that told me about it. I wish I had that story, even in an oral tradition story. And none of us had it. And I reached out to all my cousins. The only thing we knew is that she was pregnant during the flu, and she was very concerned because of, her pregnancy. It was her first pregnancy. And I just realized that we're all living in history right now, and it was really important to document it. So I was able to get a group together. We did a little reflective piece for a couple of weeks. We worked on it, and it was really amazing, the quality of writing of participants. And I just was thrilled to be able to be a part of it. And then the Globe cooperated. We got some of that stuff printed as well, which was really nice. So I understand today's topic is supposed to be writing in the media. So what I wanted to do a little bit, first off, does anyone have any questions or anything? Okay. And feel free always to jump in. So I wanted to start today with a little thing, just a little background on it, and then we can talk a little bit about what we want to pursue in our writing. And then I'd like to break out and maybe take a 10 or 15-minute break and everyone write, and then we can come back and share if you'd like to. And if you don't, that's fine as well. And just offer a little feedback for each other, and remember the power of words and how it can connect us, especially in these times when so many of us are feeling so disconnected. So that's pretty much what the meeting's going to be like, if that sounds okay. So, all right.
Sounds good.
Great.
Remember, if you want to drop in, then you hit your space bar.
If you're on a computer.
Okay. So, and then when we do the writing, Sunshine, will you be able to mute everyone? Okay. All right. So one thing I think that's really changed for everyone so drastically is what the definition of media is, because all of us of a certain age kind of think of it as a newspaper. And yet there's so many different options now available. So I don't want you to limit yourself to a newspaper concept, but I think newspapers are familiar to most of us. And when you're writing for a mass audience, that's what initially comes to mind. You know, we have the Globe, which is a wonderful resource, but I also encourage people to think about submitting your writing to other outlets, including the OC Register and the LA Times. And the other thing is maybe even a hometown newspaper where you used to live. That's always a nice connection if hopefully there's still a hometown newspaper where you used to live. And then if you're looking for online resources, I encourage everyone to check out Submittable. It's a website that has numerous publishing opportunities on it. And that's a great, you just set up an account and all kinds of genres are there and everything else. And it's, and they can send you notices and everything. So Submittable, I highly encourage people to get involved in it, even if you just log on just to look around at your opportunities and start thinking about it. Because all of us have a really good, important story to tell. We do. So one thing when you start writing for a mass audience, you want to decide what type of piece you're going to be writing. And if you want to do opinion, I strongly encourage you, if you want to do an opinion piece, to focus on the one point you want to get across. And if you're doing an essay piece, focus on the concept that you want to share. And again, remember, when you're writing for the general public, you need a really strong first graph. In the newspaper industry, it's your lead. And that's going to pull people in because everyone is vying for everyone else's attention. So you really need to give a reader a reason to come into your story. And that's usually done within the first, I think the latest thing says it's within 6 seconds, someone decides whether they'll read a story or not. So you got to grab them quick and grab them strong and pull them in. The other thing though, if you're writing something and you're doing it for, family members or maybe future family members who aren't even born yet, you can take a more gentle approach, maybe even make it like a letter or something where you have an intimacy already with people. You have a lot more options on your opening leads. And, getting your head around what it is you want to be saying before you start writing is always good. And, it could be, the concepts could be, perhaps, the good old days weren't really that good, or the good old days were great. Those kind of things. If you get that and you keep that at the top of your paper as you're writing, you can keep going back to that. And that helps to keep you focused on it. There's such extremes right now that people are going through. Our society's never been such a mess. Our society's been through worse and we've gotten through. So think about where it is you want to go and what you want to be telling in your story. The other thing to do before you start writing is to decide your tone. And if you want it to be factual, a straight news story, it tends to be more structured and rigid. But you can also be humorous, you can be poignant, and all these opportunities are there for you. One thing I do want to say is discourse is different than divisiveness. And our writing really has an ability to create a discourse in a community, especially in Laguna Woods. Everyone reads those letters to the editor, and it's an opportunity to stress your point, but it doesn't have to be divisive. So in that way, you really need to stay on the topic that you want to talk about. I remember when I read one letter, and it was, and I'm sorry if the person who wrote the letters on here, because I would love to hear your opinion on this. It was someone was stealing her fruit off her tree. And I see a smile down there, Jackie. Did you write that letter? I can't hear you. She's muted. Can you unmute her, Sunshine? technical dealings with Zoom. Okay.
Did it come in?
Yeah, there you go. Did you write that letter, Jackie?
No, but I read it. And I thought it was disgusting because the fruit on the trees is somebody else planted. And we're supposed to share it, not sue each other.
Yeah, and the tone of the story, the letter, was that she really strayed off topic because her ending sentence was, "You stole the fruit and I hope you choke on it." And instead of becoming a letter where you feel sorry for this person who has her fruit stolen, you know, and isn't this person a creep, you just learned a whole lot about that letter writer. And you totally lost the focus of what her topic was. And to that end, you know, you want to connect with people, and don't always take a cheap line. Like sometimes, you know, it's really easy to throw sarcasm into writing if you tend to be a sarcastic person, which I am. But it takes away from your argument. But that's not to say don't put in well-crafted sentences. A well-crafted sentence is a golden nugget, and that will keep readers keep going because they want more. They refer to it as the golden coin or the golden nugget in your story because it's such a beautiful sentence, or it's such a powerful sentence that people go back. They want more of that, you know. Whereas if you throw out one-liners, it might be funny and people go ha ha, but it interrupts the rhythm of the message that you're sending. So I encourage you to keep those well-crafted sentences and throw out the cheap shots or, you know, the kind of sarcasm things, because a lot of times you'll lose readers with that. It doesn't translate all the time into writing the way you think it does. And one of the ways to see if that affects your writing is once you are all done with your writing, read it out loud. And if you stumble over sentences, those are the sentences that need to go out or be rewritten. And you want to, again, keep the focus of your piece on whatever it is at the topic that you want to be addressing. Okay. You know, the rule of thumb is less is more. So when in doubt, throw it out. Even if you think it's a great sentence, if it's not focusing back onto your topic, take it and save it in another file, because you could probably write a whole nother story about that one sentence. You know, you don't have to throw it out, but throw it out of that piece and keep it, you know, somewhere else in a tickler file. And connecting with readers is really the way to do it. You want a shared experience. And ranting doesn't serve anyone. You know, it may help your blood pressure, and that's a good thing. But consider ranting as what it is, which is really a first draft. That's the one that you write it all out, you vomit all your anger, and you hang all the tree trimmers that ruined your bush in front of your house, and you can't believe it. It was just blooming, and the flowers were so pretty, and they came in and hacked the whole thing away. You know, put that down there, but then take a breath, walk away, process what it is you want to think, you know, really want to be saying there. You know, it's not that your flowers are gone, although they are, and that's important. It's that, you know, what's going on with this trimming? Is there any rhyme or reason to it? It certainly doesn't seem like it when you see some things that happen, you know, and people can relate to that because they have the same experience. So making that connection is really important. And that's kind of some of the things writing for a large audience. But now what you need to do is figure out what topic you want to write about. And as I mentioned earlier, we had initially done a group work on COVID. And I would like to see, the other thing, I think also given what we're in right now, and just, I think people feel a lot of anxiety and aloneness right now. But it's also time for Thanksgiving almost. It's before we know it. Like you said, sunshine, when you're like, I can't believe it's October 20th or 21st, you know? It's like, oh my gosh, Thanksgiving's coming up. And I think after all we've been through this year, I think giving thanks is going to take on a new appearance for most of us. And it's going to be probably a begrudging thanks. And I think we're going to have to dig pretty deep to find our thanks. But I think that's the benefit of age that we have, that we understand our perspective is, thank goodness we're not 17 years old anymore, because I wouldn't want to do that anymore. I know my body couldn't do it. But, we had that perspective of having lived through so much, and the thought of being grateful and thankful, I think, is really something to celebrate. And we're a little early. If we address this, that you would have time if you wanted to really work with it, and start a piece on that, and then see about submitting it to local media. Or we can also talk about living through COVID. So I don't know if we want to just do a show of hands, because what I'll do is I'll give, and if we want to do both, we could do both. I'll give some prompts and some sample writings on different ones. So if people want to deal with COVID, I'm going to ask you if you want to deal with COVID or thanks, and we can just raise hands. So COVID. 2, okay. And thanks. 3, 4, 5. Okay. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to modify some of the ideas to encourage you to write. And then I'm going to read a little bit, a couple of things I had pulled out for different thanks things. And in the same way, it will also use, it'll be applicable to both of them, because the style is still the same, the steps. Okay. Does that sound good? Jackie, you have a question? Sunshine, can you unmute her by any chance?
All I can do is ask her to unmute.
Is
Okay.
that okay now? No,
Yeah. Okay. Jackie, you had a question?
Yes, I have something to share, and it's important, but I don't say, oh, now I am. I had 3 books I written and published, all 3.
Great.
And my first book turned out to be a special kind of writing, which I did not know. I was just writing it. But the bad news is somebody make a copy of my whole book. And now they're all in Amazon, and people are buying them and contacting somebody. And no, we haven't found anybody who did it, but they copied the whole book. And so I am not writing any more books.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes some of the publishing programs that people can use, the software programs, releases rights.
Yeah.
So everyone always needs to be careful on that. And you want to always protect yourself on that. I'm sorry that happened, but congratulations on writing 3 books. That's great. And now maybe you might want to do an essay or something else. You have other options. So, okay. Anyone else have any questions or anything? Okay. All right. Before we start, I'm going to ask you, hopefully people have a pen or they can call up a document on their computer, however you want to work best. But we're going to talk, as I said, I'm going to kind of blend this together. So choose which avenue you want to go down and, think about that. And to get yourself grounded and thinking back into what your topic's going to be, this is this goal. So think about this. Watching things happening in the world that are out of our control, whether it be the virus or different infections, the lockdowns, and then thinking of how that hits your neighborhood. and how it hits home. And there's a moment of recognition that people usually have when they're either giving thanks or thinking about the challenges that they're going to face, and you realize everything's going to change. It's either going to change because Aunt Agnes showed up for Thanksgiving and no one remembered Aunt Agnes to invite Aunt Agnes, and she showed up and she's mad as hell and she's going to ruin the night for everyone. Those things happen. Or it could be, realizing that you're stuck on a tarmac and you're not going to make it home for Thanksgiving and thinking about your family being there. And it could be this Thanksgiving where you're not going to be able to get together with your family. The reality is a lot of us are not going to be able to sit around that table together. And what does that mean for you as you think about what's not happening? And is it just all negatives, or is it an opportunity to change it and see it's different, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad? When we think about the COVID thing, there's that moment when we suddenly realized we were going into lockdown. And that was such a shock for us as we watched, all our activities being taken away. We suddenly weren't able to go to, out the door kind of thing almost, and realizing that everything had changed. And those are pivotal moments, whether it's, Thanksgiving, whether it's dealing with a virus. There are moments in our lives, whether it's a bad medical diagnosis or whether it's the birth of a child. Those moments connect us in humanity, and they're very universal. And then look for the things that you remember that are also universal. Like, classic with the virus thing, it was toilet paper shortage. All of a sudden this became this important thing that we never thought mattered any, prior. We had just always assumed this would always be how it is. We always assumed we'd be sitting at Thanksgiving dinner with our family. And sometimes those things don't come to fruition. So think about these things, and then also remember, probably throughout our days, and especially now when we're older and we have the time and the ability to look with perspective at what we're doing, there's times of deep quiet and reflection in most people's lives. We've been removed, all our busyness has been removed through this lockdown. And we probably have a couple of moments of just thinking about what's really been going on. And how has that impacted you? And what did you think about? What did you lose and what did you gain? And what scares you and what brings you comfort? Those are both really powerful emotions. 1 minute, Jackie, I'll get to you in a minute. I'm going to do a reading right now from someone. It's from Elizabeth Berg. And she's talking about, okay. Thanksgiving. She said, I made cranberry sauce, and when it was done, put it in a dark blue bowl for the beautiful contrast. I was thinking, doing this, about the old ways of gratitude. Indians thanking the deer they'd slain, grace before supper, kneeling before bed. I was thinking that gratitude is too much absent in our lives now, and we need it back, even if it only takes the form of acknowledging the blue of a bowl against the red cranberries. I think all of us can see that, and having that detail, being able to show things when you're talking about your moments of being scared or being comforted. Where were you? What did you see? Put us there and share those moments. And I'm going to give us about 10 minutes now to write. I think that would put us on the right schedule. Let's make it 15. Okay. And I'll jump in with a 5-minute warning. Okay. And just think a little bit about what kind of things you want to be thinking about, what your topic is, and as Mark Twain said, it's all about sitting down in the chair and doing it. So that's what we're going to do now and do some writing together. Okay. Does anyone want to share his or her writing? Take it away, Sunshine.
All right, hold on.
And what we'll do we'll have everyone who wants to share, and then we're going to open it up for comments. And I think we'll do it after each reading while it's still fresh in our mind. So if you want to take any notes or anything about things that you like or thoughts about it. Okay?
Okay, there were a couple people that I asked to unmute that they haven't unmuted yet, but
That's okay, Sunshine. You could just start yours and that's fine because you're going to be.
okay, here's my little thing. I'm thankful for peanut butter. I left the doctor's office with paper in hand, recommend low FODMAP diet. That's FODMAP. Next step, I checked the food list for low FODMAP, and what did I find? My favorite food, peanut butter and sourdough bread. But I usually combined my peanut butter toast with strawberry jam. Whoops, not on the list. Neither was honey. I carefully checked the list and found fruits like strawberries and grapes. I just sliced several green grapes and laid them on top of my peanut butter toast. What a delicious treat. So, thanks to peanut butter, I can eat my lunch and still follow my special diet.
That's great, Sunshine. I love the way that you talk about, that you're leaving with this slip of paper that's telling you this horrible, FOMF diet. And you're like, oh no. And then it becomes this good thing and you found it in there that is like, oh great, it's peanut butter. I love that your enthusiasm comes through on that.
Thank you.
I would talk a little bit about how the peanut butter looks on the toast and the grapes and stuff. Give us a little bit more vision of
I
that.
have a picture of it because I just had it. Oh, no.
Yeah. But that's great finding that positive in that. And then I love the way that you started off, right, with, I'm thankful for peanut butter. And that certainly would want me to keep reading on that because it's such a fun thing. So does anyone have any other thoughts on that? Okay. It is very fun. I like that. Good little vignette. Okay. Does anyone else want to go next? Peggy?
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. Thanksgiving this year will mean looking back through 2020 and finding those moments which not only improved my life, but also improved others' lives. A year ago, we adopted 2 cats. They're such good kitties, so loving, so kind. I think it's because they weren't separated. They've got each other. We bought our son a good bike, which has actually made COVID a good thing for him. We sent $1,000 each to those who cared for our son who died from cancer. This money made it possible for them to take care of issues they had been putting off because of money. My BFF throughout school contacted me after 50 years. We have renewed our friendship. Of course, we miss the rest of the family, but we're making plans for gifts and visits now. But we now make sure to stay in contact. And hey, we learned how to use Zoom, and now we can get together with even more family and friends, and even at the same time.
That's nice. Yeah, I love the way that you talk about when you start in, saying that 2020 is a time to look back on the good things that happened, because everyone else is like, 2020 is awful. I can't wait for it to be over. And, all that, and yet look at all the things that you've been able to accomplish and to make those connections that wouldn't have happened otherwise. I would love to hear more about how you connected with your friend from school, what it was like seeing someone after 50 years.
And here's my kitty cat.
And that, I think the two cats together, it would be real fun to see what they think, like write something from their perspective, like what a great year, we got adopted by this wonderful family. So you're full of opportunity with all of that, Peggy. I think all of those things are wonderful, that you can make a story out of almost each one, even if you wanted to expand on it. Because there's so many good things in there. And caring, and it shows that, it's not just all about you, you were helping the people who had helped your son, and how that community happened. You really touch on that. That's really nice.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'll go.
Okay.
Okay, and that is as the autumn comes in the air and the leaves changing the colors and the trees are beginning to shed the leaves, and I walk in the Wellington under the redwood trees, and I start thinking about Thanksgiving will be coming soon. And it brings back the memories. Every year I spend the time with my family, and they will take me to their home, and then we will all get together. And that would be so very enjoyable. The food, the company, and getting together, making things together, telling the stories, and then telling the prayers and the songs and the music. It was just wonderful. But then the idea comes to my mind as I'm walking around under the redwood trees. Oh, I don't know what would happen this Thanksgiving, because I'm not allowed even to get out of the building, and my family cannot come in either. And then I start thinking, well, it's not really so bad, because I still am able to see and talk to my children, to my family, and I'm still able to visit each other on Zoom, having Zoom lunch, and that they are saying we can have the Zoom Thanksgiving. And I said, well, that would be a very good idea. So everything is just, to me, not really so pessimistic. So I say, well, I think it is nice that I'm going to continue on this Thanksgiving. One of the things I will keep is continue my optimistic outlook on life, and also keep my little candle of hope keep going, because I am very thankful that I am able to see at least the sunlight, the sunshine, and my friends, and I can talk to them, I can see my family, and I am in reasonably good health. I am very grateful for that. So it reminds me of one of my friends who said one time on one Thanksgiving, she said that gratitude is my attitude, Daya. And I still remember that. And that would be my Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Lovely.
Very beautiful. And Dia, I love how you talk about walking among the leaves and at the Wellington, and it really puts us there, like we can envision that happening. And you talk about the leaves falling, which is always very symbolic of the seasons changing and things. And your constant brightness and looking for the light is just so refreshing. And, you know, some people would be complaining and things, and it's definitely going to be different.
Mhm.
But you're finding that positive attitude about it, which is very inspiring for people. And just think so many people in so many places are going to have that same experience in the assisted living facilities where they can't go out. And some of them will have the right, you know, will be able to muster the good attitude that you do, and some other people just won't. And reminding us about how important that is to be able to find that positive spot is really very inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing that.
I think also what a good idea to Zoom Thanksgiving dinner. We can all share our dishes and recipes.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. Jackie?
Still muted. Hold on. Jackie, please unmute. There. Oops. Yeah, there you go. You're still muted. Still
You're
muted.
still muted, Jackie.
Can't hear you.
Can you unmute? Jackie, you're muted.
Yeah.
You're still muted. Sunshine, you can't override her mute, can you?
Only thing I can do is ask her to unmute, and that sends a message to her computer that she has to answer.
Mm.
Okay.
I sent her, Theresa, I sent her a chat to unmute.
Okay.
You know, so if she can read that.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah. I think in the interest of moving forward, Jackie, we're gonna have someone else present for a minute, and then we'll come back to you, okay? If you can get yours unmuted while we do someone else. Okay? Thank you. Anyone else want to go?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Noreen. Love to hear
And
you.
my computer time is going to run out in 12 minutes because I'm not plugged in. So if I go by suddenly, that's why.
We'll critique quickly.
Okay, so I started with a friend and I enjoyed a wonderful 2-week vacation in Shanghai and some beautiful cities in China just last October. It was shocking when just 6 weeks later, China announced that the COVID pandemic was throughout their entire country. Whoops. I felt so bad for these sweet people. I offered prayers for a quick recovery every day. It was mind-boggling to me when our government announced the virus had spread to the US with hotspots in my birthplace in New York and my current home in California. My concern was for my daughters in Belgium and in New York. What happens if one of us has the virus? We won't be able to help each other, to show our love. We spend lots of time on Facebook in the next couple of months supporting each other, calming our fears with promises to be together as soon as this ends. As time goes on, we have...
Oh.
We lost her.
Oh, drat.
Oh.
Oh, I hope she can find a plug and rejoin us, because that sounded really interesting. Oh, shoot.
Good.
And Jacqueline is unmuted.
Okay, Jacqueline, you want to start? You want to share what you wrote?
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
we can.
This is a little story that I wrote in my book, and then I was so embarrassed that I took it out. And it's the story of Jose. Jose was kind of an odd-shaped guy, kind of tall but bulgy, especially in the backside. And he wanted to get married. He wanted to get married so badly to this girl that he knew. And so the girl insisted, you have to buy me my gown, my veil, everything. I don't have any money. So he went down to sugar cutting, the big sugar plant, and then you cut it and get sugar. So he went to the field, and he knew that if he cut one finger, then he don't come back, but he gets 98 cents. But he was a smart guy. He decided, we're gonna cut two. So he cut 2 fingers, and he got $198. Well, what happened was, the day of the wedding, he came out wearing a beautiful jacket he borrowed from somebody. And they had the coffee and the chocolate and the crackers and flowers, and the girl got married to this guy. But 3 days after they got married, she decided she did not want to be married. So now the poor guy got to go home crying, for he lost 2 fingers, $200, and the girl. Amen. It's a true story, by the way.
That's pretty intense. I don't think you can make that one up for sure. I like the way you talk about his description when you first start describing him. You know, we could really kind of vision him, and that was nice. And it's kind of a sad story, though. So, but it's an interesting story, though. I like the way you comment, you know, about how the woman married him and then decided she didn't want to.
And the sad thing about that kind of story is somebody will like it and somebody not. So it's best to leave it out. And if it doesn't mean anything to them, they don't want to read it. And so it's better kind of just forget it.
So Noreen, you're back. Now you got to unmute yourself.
I'm muted?
No.
No, you're okay, Jackie. We're going to go back to Noreen now. Thanks for sharing, Jackie. That was good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Noreen, there you go. You were on Facebook with your kids.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, here we go. Supporting each other, calming our fears with promises to be together as soon as this ends. As time goes on, we have tea together on FaceTime every week and share humorous stories of our past escapades to lighten our spirits. And that's as far as I got. That was all I got to.
It sounds wonderful, and I would love to see you expand on that and talk about what you went through. And I got to tell you, your grandchildren, or if you don't have any, if you ever get any, would love to have that, and to tell them what the humorous stories are, that you're able to laugh amid all this stuff, and how alone you felt. You know, like you can say, you know, we worried that we wouldn't be there for each other, but what does that feel like at 3 in the morning, which is probably when it really hits you, and you're sitting there and you're in bed and you're alone and you're just thinking that this is absolutely the worst thing and you can't get to your kid, and how that makes you feel, and put your feelings into that. And I think you're just going to have such a beautiful piece.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. Go ahead, Sunshine.
I just got a text from my daughter. I'd missed my great-granddaughter's birthday, of course, because they're in Las Vegas and I'm here. And I sent Blake a little skirt. It's just a cute little skirt. And she likes it so well that she wears it every day over all her other clothes.
So, yeah, learning how to communicate, treasure these moments on Zoom is really, in texting, and also, the amazing opportunity technology gives us. As bad as this is, if we didn't have this, imagine how much more alone we'd feel. So, Noreen, I love that piece. I would look forward to reading the rest, let you finish working on that. That sounds absolutely lovely.
Oh, thank you. I will.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to share? Go ahead, Scott. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted, Scott.
Oh, I heard you. I'm gonna get me. Okay. Well, we had everybody shut down, so it takes me, I have to go on. Okay, so first of all, I apologize for being a little late. I got caught up in something and couldn't get out of it.
No problem.
But I'm going to focus on the gratitude part of it because we all know what the rest of this year has been like. So for me, a couple of things happened that were important. Because a nurse was paying attention in her job, she found out I had a heart issue. So she got me to the doctor, my cardiologist, and they found that I had a 98% blockage in one of my arteries. And I had just done 16 miles on the bike the day before and didn't know I had a problem. So anyway, because she was paying attention and doing her job and got me to the right people, I'm here to talk about this.
Wow.
So I'm very grateful for that and for them. And I let them know, of course, because I think it is important to let people know when they've done something that's that important to your life and for my family, that they should hear about it. So I made sure they did. And I also thanked everybody who was involved in my rehab and my cardiologist for repairing me. So I think that's important to recognize that. And I think that your thoughts about gratitude are important about that. And then the other two things is I was supposed to see several members of my family. We couldn't because of COVID. But we've been doing is Zoom cocktail hours. So either Friday after Vicky's done from work or on the weekends, we get together for like an hour and a half. And, you know, we all have our glass of wine and we all talk. And that has made us all feel less isolated. And we've enjoyed each other's company a lot. And then one other thing, which I think was really cool, was that it was our 50th high school reunion this year. And we were supposed to meet in Jersey City on the shore. We couldn't do it. So we got one of the folks suggested we do a Zoom, and now we're doing a Zoom every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we've got people that are calling in from Israel, from Germany, and all the way west to Hawaii, and then of course all across the country. And 2/3 of my entire class, I went to a small school, so it's like 17 out of 3 people are getting together every 2 weeks. And the cool thing about that is we've caught up kind of with what everybody's done since they graduated. But now we have like a theme every week. You know, we'll pick some theme and then talk about that. So we're continuing to grow in our relationship even as we've been friends for 50 years. So I think the Zoom has been great in that it's not as good as seeing and hugging people, but it's pretty close. And, you know, we'll take it.
That's wonderful. I would love to read about some of that. Yeah. No, those are great sharing things. I love the fact that your 50th reunion is resulting in more connections.
Yeah.
You know, the people who normally wouldn't have been able to actually go are able to jump in and be there. Right, so that's great.
So that's a good outcome of all the mess we've had to deal with.
And your 98% blockage, I think, is pretty special and spectacular.
Yeah, and I actually just finished another book, and I'm now waiting for the proof copy. So I got to finish that too. So I'm happy to accomplish that as well.
It sounds like a productive pandemic for you.
Got to do something while we're here, right?
Good for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else want to share any of their writing or?
I think it's cool, the idea of having a theme for each Zoom. So like you do with your family.
That's neat, yeah. Doug, you want to share?
Sure.
Good.
Can you can hear me, I guess.
Yep.
Great.
I thought I'd, like Scott, I wanted to do the why I'm thankful topic. So since I retired, I've realized that I am more fortunate than some of my friends who fear retirement because they do not have a plan. One friend says he likes what he does at his job, or is he hiding in his routine? Another wonders if there will be enough projects to pass the time. In my case, I am living my lifelong dream of writing fiction and have published 4 novels so far. I have joined 3 clubs and 1 group, and now find myself having to allocate blocks of time to each while still saving some time for fun. A friend who I thought would have a difficult time in retirement after selling his business is helping his wife babysit their 2-year-old granddaughter 2 days a week. He also has learned how to make pipes for smoking and has clients worldwide. Household projects are also on his plate. Too many times I see people afraid to retire for another reason. They feel like they will be lost and they've heard stories of people who retire, sit at home, and die in less than 1 year. So I am thankful I live in a vibrant community offering many activities in a warm climate, even in these COVID confusing days, I'm busy doing things I like and sympathize with friends who fear retirement.
Great. That's a really nice piece.
Very good.
And it's such a universal, approach that so many people that you tap right into about how people are afraid to retire and how you're proving them wrong for yourself, which is wonderful.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
That's right.
But that's wonderful that you're able to show that you can, that it's not the end, it's a new opportunity.
This one friend I mentioned works in Manhattan, and he is just steeped in routine. I mean, with COVID, he couldn't go to the office anymore. He's working from home, and that bothers him. He's established a new routine. He's my age. We were grade school and high school classmates, and talk to each other a couple times a week. I keep trying to get him to retire, but he's afraid. I mean, he just doesn't have a plan.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's so nice that you have your stuff going on. And Scott, what you were going to say something?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to put a plug in for Doug for his new book, Trillions. I've read his other 3 books, and this one's great as well. So if you get a chance, folks, you should read it. It's very good.
Thank you, Scott. And I should be receiving the book that you wrote in a day or 2 from Amazon. So I love the first one that I read. I think it was called Mixed Bag.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to Rough Cut.
Thank you.
Good.
I want to say, Doug, you ought to send that to The Breeze. You ever read The Breeze?
Yeah, that magazine that comes up.
Yeah, send your story about retirement to them. It's a perfect story for them.
Okay, I'll clean it up a little bit and send it to them. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think you do a wonderful job talking about, finding yourself anything but bored.
Yeah.
So that's great. Does anyone else want to share? Hi, Ellen. Sure. Good.
I can read my handwriting. So let's see. Yeah, I'm unmuted. Great. Let's see. Gratitude to the events happening around the world on Zoom. Listening to readings, lectures, and concerts from all over the sphere is a wondrous thing. The logistics of turning on the computer and being in a library in Brooklyn, a museum in Portugal, a concert in Scandinavia, all is possible. Walking into Zoom is like a world encapsulated amidst the hum of time in an askew Dali universe, melting clocks, Van Gogh sky, stars lifting their ears to whisper at us like a seashell, understanding how the world has become tiny like a thimble and large as an ocean's eternity, simultaneously seeking events in connection with all the ancient and new solitude, blending in a dance, learning new steps, twirling through the hemisphere, the future wearing invisible ink, unclear, and profound.
That's stunningly beautiful.
Well, thank you. Wow, thank you.
Oh my goodness, that is so wonderful. That juxtaposition of the thimble and then the ocean. You just really, oh wow, that is so nice.
Oh, thank
And
you.
you really open up the experience that people have, you know, where all of a sudden the world really does open up for them in a way that we never would have been able to. And you list the places being in Portugal and Brooklyn, and it just really, that's a great graphic, and we can see it, we can travel it with you. And thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's a lovely piece on, you know, what Zoom has done for us.
Wow, thank you so very much.
Finding good things in the middle of this pandemic, you know, it's really, it's great to see how so many people are finding voice and experiences, and not, you know, we can also, you know, just as easily cite as many people who are not doing that, but finding the people who are doing it and being able to celebrate that is really a gift of words. I just think that's lovely.
Thank you.
Sounded poetic, but again, Ellen is a wonderful poet, so not a surprise.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
It was very poetic. It was lovely.
Ellen's
Thank you.
more than a wordsmith. She's a word magician.
Oh,
Very well put, Peggy.
Thank you.
You should consider, you should submit that to the Globe. They're doing some things about COVID. I think it is. Sunshine, you're nodding correctly. Could you help me on this one? I think they're doing.
Yeah. I don't have any particulars.
Okay. Yeah, there's a feature I think that they were running for a little bit after we did ours. They started taking some submissions on what you learned during COVID or something, you know, we're still in the midst of it. So.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. I can share mine if we want. I'm not sure if I really got it to an ending I like, but I'll share anyway and see where we got to. This is a Thanksgiving reflection, and from a long time ago. This was before TSA. So all of you can remember flying at that point when life was it was fun to fly. So I stood at the ticket counter, a denim backpack slung over my shoulder, my jeans hugging my trim 20-something waist. And when the tears welled up, well, they just didn't stop. "I'm so sorry," said the flight attendant, "but you missed the one flight, and the last flight tonight is fully booked. You can wait and see if a seat opens up on standby, or else you can fly out on Saturday." It was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I hadn't seen my family in almost 18 months. My big, boisterous family that drove me so crazy, I opted to go to college 3,000 miles from home just to get away from them. And now I wanted nothing more than to be in my home. "You can see if a seat opens up on standby," she said. Her melancholy tone told me that was a slight chance of that happening. But I so wanted to smell a turkey roasting, hear my mother ordering people to set the table, fold the napkins, cut up celery, mash the potatoes. With a sergeant's precision and a conductor's skill, she would make Thanksgiving dinner happen for more than 30 people every November. And I just so wanted to be there. Amazing the knowledge that time away offers to an inquisitive mind. The warm feel of love that embraces everything, even if it is never once uttered, is about my family. Certainly, it took on many appearances that did not reflect a Hallmark card. The fistfights with my brother, the snapping of a wet dish towel on the back of my legs from an older sister. These, I thought, were the reasons 3,000 miles away seemed like such a good idea. And there was a moment when we all there was still a moment when we all gathered around the table, seating the lefties to the outside, fighting with who got stuck next to Aunt Agnes. But we'd take that moment, a silence, and we'd say grace. And that was why I needed to travel those 3,000 miles back for that moment. And the flight attendant called my name and said there was an open seat, and my tears finally stopped when I buckled myself in.
Very good.
Ending's a little choppy there. So
Very nice.
thank you.
Very nice. Yeah,
Thanks.
beautiful.
Wonderful.
You know, you're using dialogue reminds me how important that is when you write. It always adds interest to have dialogue.
Right. And Noreen, I think your dialogue, you have a great opportunity for dialogue in that piece when you're talking, you know, on Facebook and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So, okay. Well, I don't want to keep anyone late, and I know we're almost done here. So, does anyone have any other wrap up thoughts or anything else we want to go over for writing? I think the most important thing to me is to just remember it's doing it. You know, it sounds like, you know, Doug and Scott, you definitely have your schedules down. It sounds like you're being very productive. I, on the other hand, am one person that can always find a million other things that need to happen other than writing. And it's to my detriment because I know I should be writing. And that, like I said, I said it earlier with Mark Twain, you know, it's getting sit your seat down in the chair.
Well,
Except he didn't say seat.
in my case, I don't have a choice. My wife is working from home and she's taking over the living room. So I'm exiled to the back room anyway.
Hey, you're not playing Sudoku on your phone. That's a good thing.
Well,
So,
thank you so much, Theresa. I
no,
think
thank you for
all
having
of
me.
us think this is very
Yeah.
productive.
Thank
It
you.
was
And
fantastic.
Yeah.
it put a fire under us, so thank you.
Good. Well, what a
Now-
great, wonderful group we have. You know, it's so amazing, all the different things within the village, and seeing, you know, that there's a publishers club is just wonderful. That everyone
Oh.
values words and things. And
True.
so
Thank
thank you
you.
for inviting me to be part of it.
And
On Sunshine
November,
Stories 3. I'm working on Sunshine Stories 3, and I think I might add my peanut butter story to it.
You
Doc-
should.
talk about sunshine. Next month, Sunshine will finish her workshop on uploading to KDP. So make sure you don't miss it because we all are dying to publish. So we have to know how to upload to KDP.
Right. Scott and Doug, are your books available on Amazon?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
My three of mine are, and the fourth one, the legacy. I'm just getting the proof copy this on Monday, and then if everything's good with that, yeah, it'll be available then. I just want to make sure we got everything right, but it's
Great.
done. So
Good.
Our members are so impressive. I have a whole library of their works. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Thank you, Theresa. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. And right away.
And see you in November.
Okay.
Doug.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Theresa.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.